Welcome back to the Donkey Vote podcast with Francis.
Tobias.
And George. These interviews will be focusing on the past careers of politicians before they entered Parliament.
With a strong intention to our audience that anything is achievable no matter what you studied in university or college.
If you like this sort of content, please make sure you like, subscribe, comment, and share with your friends. Also, we are on YouTube and Spotify, so make sure you follow us on those platforms.
Make sure to follow us on Instagram as well to keep updated with the latest episodes and reels that we release.
Enjoy
the interview.
Welcome back to the Donkey Vote political podcast for another interview. And today we are honoured to be joined by the member for the Northern Victorian region in the Legislative Council in Victorian Parliament, Gaelle Broad. Gaelle, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's great. I've heard good things, so I'm interested. Appreciate what you guys are doing. Good on you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think we've been trying to do this interview for the past 3 months or so. So it's great to have you on the podcast. And we did meet you in person in Parliament. So yeah, it's great to have you here. So just for our audience out there who may not know an entire lot about you, are you able to give us a little brief description of yourself just for our audience out there, just so they know a little bit more about yourself before we get into the questions?
Sure. Well, I'm Nationals member in State Parliament for Northern Victoria. I've only been in Parliament now for just a bit over a year. Outside of Parliament life, I've been married for nearly 25 years. I've got 3 kids that are now, 2 of them are adults, which is kind of scary. So, but that's a little bit about me. I guess background, worked in media, worked for other members of Parliament, and worked in kind of grants area, recovery assistance programs, that sort of thing, when I was at the bank, and now in Parliament.
I guess it's a little bit of a different sort of pathway to Parliament, not like your typical law degree sort of thing and getting in through, university straight into politics. So, that sort of work before Parliament, I guess, is really, really crucial.
Yeah. Look, it is interesting because it was when I was at uni that I had probably my first experience as a parliamentary intern. I was studying politics and had an opportunity to do a parliamentary internship, and then I got paired up with a state member of Parliament and got to interview members of Parliament from all different political backgrounds. And I think that was about 28 years ago. So that was, quite a long time ago, but it gave me a bit of an introduction as to why people consider working in the political field. And from there, I guess, it sparked a bit of an interest for me. But yes, I've done a lot of work over a number of years now outside. But then it's a very familiar place to go back to when you've done something as a student. It gave me a really good experience. So it's great to see you guys walking around Parliament House as well, because that's kind of what I was doing a long time ago too. Yeah.
Also, which politician did you intern for in your university days?
That was Murray Thompson, who was the Liberal member for Sandringham. So he was in Parliament for about 26 years, I think. And I think he still holds the record for the highest number of parliamentary interns that he's had. And I think being in Parliament for 26 years, that would be a pretty hard record to beat. So he might be holding that mantle for quite a long time.
Yeah, he's the son of the former Premier Lindsay Thompson, isn't he?
Yes.
Sorry.
And Mr. Thompson, I did have the opportunity to meet him, which was wonderful, and hear a bit of his story. Very courageous person. That was it's probably a story for another day, but yes, I certainly had a lot of admiration for him. So as I did for Murray Thompson as well.
Yeah,
he certainly served with integrity. Yeah,
for sure. I think he was one of the great members of Parliament, so he'll always be remembered. So yeah, we'll get probably straight into our questions then for you, Gaelle. So my first question to you is, how was your high school and university life, and do you have any memorable moments?
Look, I loved high school, great phase of life, and I think always enjoyed learning lots, and just being able to catch up with friends every day is really good. The benefits of school. University, I found the same. Like I'd sort of gone, I guess high school, I went to a school that was very small, Mount District Christian School, which actually no longer exists. It's kind of closed now, but it was open for about 40 years. And it had, a very small number of students from prep to year 10. So that gave me a real mix of ages, I guess. You kind of got along with everybody because it was a small school. And then I went to Mount Evelyn Christian School for my year 11 and 12, and really enjoyed that and connected with some other people there. And it was actually a teacher then that I remember ran the class, even though there was a small number of students. She fortunately did run the political class, and I thought that was fantastic. I really enjoyed learning about politics and learning about legal studies. So I do really appreciate it was her first year as a teacher, and she kind of went to extra effort, and that really sparked an interest for me then too. And then university was going to Monash and then going, wow, there's like a 5-story high library here. This is awesome. So I thoroughly enjoyed being at uni, and again had great opportunities there, like the parliamentary internship. And then I went on to do a graduate diploma in communications and then a master's in public policy at Melbourne University. So I was at uni for quite a while, but again, I've always loved that, just being able to research and learn. And as my grandpa always said, life's about learning. So I think you never stop, even though you kind of think you might finish uni, you never stop learning. So, but yes, I really enjoyed that whole phase of life. And I guess the learning still continues.
Exactly. Even nowadays, I'm guessing even as a member of parliament, you're still learning a lot of things on the job. So it's not a job you can really train for, in a sense.
No, that's right. And look, and such a variety of issues. We had a listening post yesterday in Castlemaine, and just met with locals who raised, quite a number of different issues. Foster care, employment of older, generation, childcare was talked about, and diversity of issues, housing, all sorts of issues come across your desk, and you do need to get across them and understand what the needs are, then what the priorities are.
Yeah, and what high school did you specifically go to back in the day?
That was, my year 11 and 12 was Mount Evelyn Christian School, and I went back and spoke there. I think they had the 40 years, so I went back and spoke, and then it was like, oh wow, this is much bigger than I remember. The assembly was huge, so I thought the school's grown a lot since I've been there, but it was really wonderful to go back.
Yeah. And do you have any specific memorable moments you'd like to share on the podcast, or you want to keep those to yourself, I guess?
Oh, no, look, memorable moments. Probably at uni, I remember getting a flat tire on my way to an exam. That wasn't fun. So that was pretty stressful. And I had this guy who stopped in this amazing old, it looked like a Cadillac or something, like this really fancy car. And I just remember thinking, I don't know where this guy came from, but he pulled over and just helped, change the tire. And then I, got to the uni. But I'm just so thankful for, people that stop and help a stranger sometimes.
Yeah. So were you still living in rural Victoria while you were going to university at Monash?
Yes. So I grew up on a farm, and it's kind of funny because it would take me by public transport, because I didn't get my license till kind of later in the year. When I was at uni, I was a bit younger than others, and it would take me an hour and 3/4 to get to uni one way, and then I'd have to sort of do the same trip home. So it was a big effort. And then when I got my driver's license, I was pretty excited because I was at Clayton, so it wasn't kind of that easy to get to, no direct train line. But then, many years later, I guess I'm living in Bendigo, having married a boy from further north, and up in northern Victoria, people think of if they think of you as being sort of more from the city, even though you kind of live an hour and a half out of the city, or just on the other side. So it kind of depends on where you live in regional Victoria as to the size of the farms. But I grew up on a farm that was really intense horticulture, but just a small 20-acre farm that still employed a number of people. Whereas, in parts of northern Victoria, you get literally thousands of hectares, so much larger size farms, but very different style of farming. So I've had the good fortune of seeing and learning, more about both both types. But yeah, so yes, I'm known as the country kid when I went to uni, and then moving to the country, you're kind of known as the city kid. So I'm a bit of both.
Yeah. Just in between, I guess.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. We'll move on now to our second question. George.
So you worked at Rural Bank, Bendigo and Adelaide Bank as a manager of government engagement before entering Parliament. Could you talk to us about this line of work?
Yeah, look, I was there for a few years at the bank, and that, yes, it is what I did immediately before being elected, and I really enjoyed that. I had, was part of a great team there, a really great corporate environment, and certainly a significant employer in Bendigo region in central Victoria. There's a lot of people work there, so yeah, it was really great to be part of that, and I worked in programs that were basically assisting people right across regional Victoria, and really enjoyed that opportunity. But I think being part of a team is really important, and in politics, you're also part of a team. And I think, just the skills that you learn in communications and a desire to assist people has been consistent in whatever I've done, but that's been a really good role to have prior to this one.
Yep. And did you take a lot of things out from working in a rural bank that you're using now in your political career?
Yes, yeah. Look, certainly, I guess it gave me a real understanding of disasters and disaster recovery, because I guess there was all sorts of experiences, with COVID and bushfires and floods. Was part of my work, and then now I'm actually involved in the flood inquiry at this, with the state government, one of the committees that I'm on. So I'm on a few committees now, but one of them particularly has been looking at the floods, and I think just that background has been quite useful, but yeah, again, and you continue to learn, and now it's, there's a lot of opportunity to be face to face with people, which I really appreciate, being able to visit some of these areas that are impacted. And just yesterday I was at Bendigo Pottery that had experienced flooding in January as well, and they're only just opening their doors now. So we're now, right at the end of March, and that has had a big impact on that business and all the businesses connected with it. So I think disasters certainly seem to be happening a lot more frequently, and having that background has been very helpful to my role. And I think government has a really vital role in helping communities recover over time too, because it's very difficult for them to have the resources to get back on their feet.
Yeah, for sure. And, especially, as you said, the recent flooding events in Northern Victoria at the end of last year, I know in that Shepparton region, it must have affected the communities within your electorate a lot. So that sort of support with the government is really, really crucial.
Yeah, no, it is. And actually in April, we've got a regional sitting happening in Echuca, and we're going to be, engaging a lot with the local community there and surrounds. But just recently I was at Rochester with Peter Walsh, who's the local member for that area. And, it was wonderful. The Salvation Army there held a service that really acknowledged the contribution that locals had made in the October 2022 floods. And then they've had, subsequent floods occur as well, as you mentioned. So I think it has been very challenging for those areas, and the locals have done an incredible job, even when their own homes have been, flood impacted as well. They've still been out there supporting and helping others. So it's been a real privilege to be able to spend some time in those different communities and talk with locals, but it is a very long road to recovery for many.
Yeah. And would you say as well that a lot of the people that you worked with, like as a rural banker, the sort of people that used to come to the bank and deal with those sort of issues, there's probably a lot of the time they're the same sort of people that you're dealing with now as a politician. So those sort of connections that you built up through your career before politics is helping you currently now as well.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think just the, the contact is really important, and hearing those stories is really important, because it does shape, what you advocate for, I guess, for assistance in future. So I've been fortunate to kind of see how things work from a very different angle, and now being able to, you know, advocate at the state level is been, yeah, a real honour to be able to do that.
Yeah. We'll move on now to our third question for you, Gaelle. So, in addition to your work as a rural banker, you worked in journalism, especially for the ABC as a radio presenter. Would you be able to tell us a little bit about your work as a radio presenter?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, look, I was probably the longest serving casual at the ABC, I think, and yeah, well, it's kind of the nature of a lot of work nowadays too. It's an interesting field to work in, but yeah, I really enjoyed radio, and I started in community radio when I was actually at uni. I did a Saturday
Oh,
breakfast
wow.
program. So I think, yeah, what you do at uni really
unpaid
does
for,
really
or
does.
was that paid
Pardon?
for? Did you get paid for that, Gaelle, or was that just
No,
volunteer work?
no, that was just volunteer. I just loved it, and I actually interviewed politicians, which is kind of funny. And yeah, so then, yeah, fast forward many years later, end up doing the Saturday breakfast program on ABC. Like North and Western Victoria. So it's kind of half of the state. So you had to be up early if you wanted to hear me, otherwise it'd be all over.
What time do you start normally, Gaelle?
Oh, look, I would get up kind of 4 a.m. really
Oh,
on those
wow.
mornings, and then yeah, you'd be in there. But it was kind of like a 6:15 show, and then generally over by just before 8 a.m. So yes, if you slept in, you'd miss it. But I would drive past the butcher in the morning and think, good on you, because you're up early too. So
Do you think he was listening to your radio show at that time?
oh yeah, maybe. Well, actually, I remember going to a wedding. It was a wedding in the country, like it was up around Swan Hill, and because I was going to the wedding, I'd done an interview about speeches at weddings and how to give a good speech and that sort of thing. Anyway, the number of people at the reception that said, "Oh, I heard you on the radio this morning," I thought, wow, it just shows you, because radio is such a personal thing. It's kind of you just talking in a room, you know, where you're thinking of one person, but you're talking to a lot of people, and you realise that when you're out in the community. So but yeah, I really did enjoy it. And I think it's very similar to politics in a lot of ways, because again, it's just lots of issues, a variety of, and research is required. And at the end of the day, you're listening to people's stories and you're sharing those stories. And now I'm doing exactly the same thing in politics, and I've still got a microphone in Parliament. It's just, for a different purpose. But yeah, I really did enjoy that time and enjoyed my time in community radio because I think where you get a passionate group of people that sort of all work together as a team, it's fantastic to be part of that. And yes, but it's kind of funny because ABC just yesterday, I think they had me quoted on the rural report, but unfortunately they said I was a Labor MP, whereas I'm a Nationals MP. So I had to laugh when I heard that. I thought, oh yeah, better tell them they've actually got the wrong party. So yes, it's been a little while since I've been at the ABC, and but yes, definitely Nationals.
Definitely Nationals. And
yeah.
How long did you work at the ABC for? Because so you went from the ABC to your rural banking career, or was it vice versa?
Yeah, it's kind of well, I actually worked. It was on and off. It was probably over 5 years or 4 to 5 years, something like that. But I worked there, and then I did work for Senator Bridget McKenzie for a time too. And then I went back to the ABC, I think too. So so it was a number of years, but it was more sort of helping producing for the program, or it was filling in when they needed a breakfast presenter on ABC Central Victoria, and then just doing the Saturday breakfast. So it was sort of a variety of different roles, and I really enjoyed that. And it was kind of a time when my kids were young, so it worked in quite well with that whole phase of life too.
Yeah, so you did the kids drop off right after your radio show finished, basically.
Yeah, well, they certainly remember lots of mornings where I wasn't there, but I think that's they're a lot older now, which is kind of helpful, because this job, there's a lot of time that you're away, I guess, and people don't always probably realise that, but yeah, we have about 17 weeks a year of Parliament sittings. So for a regional MP, that means staying in Melbourne from the Monday to Thursday night generally, and then because I'm on a few committees and we have hearings for those committees, I then go down to Melbourne for those too. So the last 4 weeks. I guess I've spent a lot of time in Melbourne, but it's really lovely to be back at my office in Bendigo today. So yeah, just enjoying that and catching up with you guys.
Yeah, and we're grateful that you're on the podcast as well, Gail. So, and I think that's something, as you did say, not many people do realize that a lot of regional MPs, they spend probably more often than not more time in Melbourne sometimes than they're in their own home because but like your electorate is huge, vastly, and there's a lot of communities you have to serve, and you're going in and around all those communities in a sense. So sometimes you're not really home as much as you would like.
Yeah, no, that's right. And it is, I guess, yeah, just this week it's kind of, I caught the train, I don't know, 6 something a.m. and then I got home about 8 p.m. Because went down to Melbourne for hearing. So yeah, it can be long hours. And then when you're back in the region, Northern Victoria is a very large area. It's like the top half of the state. And so I do, I guess I've been to a number of places so far this year, and I do like to sort of connect with people in person because I think it's really important to understand, what's going on. And the benefit of being an upper house MP and having a large area is you get a real feeling for what the issues are that are consistent right across, so things like energy or water, issues that are not specific to a local, smaller patch, but you start to hear the same things about housing shortages or childcare shortages, right across certainly Northern Victoria area.
Yeah. And when you were on the train actually this week, did you get recognised at all, or any other people?
Yes, it was. It was there was a lady that I know from Bendigo that I sat right opposite on the way home, which is really good timing. So it is lovely. I mean, that's the benefit of travelling on the train. You get to see people, but you also get to do a lot of reading and sending emails and everything, which is much easier than when you're driving.
That's true. You don't want to get distracted while you're driving. So
no, that's right.
Not at all.
The driving's good for phone calls, but yeah,
not good for emailing at all.
That's right. Yeah.
Or sending text messages. So yeah. We'll move on now to our fourth question. George.
Yeah, so you also have some other political experience working in the office of former federal member for Parliament Peter Costello and Crown Nationals Senator Bridget McKenzie. How did this advisory work prepare you for your own political career?
Yeah, well, no, it certainly did. And I guess, and I worked for Murray Thompson for a time too, the state member that I'd actually been an intern for. I ended up working for him for, just less, about a year and a half. I think that from that went to work for Peter Costello for, I think it was about 3.5 years. And then, also worked for Bridget McKenzie too. So it's, very helpful, I guess, to have that experience because it gave me experience at the state and federal level. So you understand more about what those levels of government can do. And you learn a lot from being in an office and working as part of a team and seeing how, members approach things, maybe differently. But I've got a lot of respect for all three. I think I did, I'm very grateful for the time that I had with each of them and just the skills and the tips that you learn along the way. And then you can bring that to the way you do the role as well. So, I really am very grateful. And I think, and with Peter Costello, he was federal treasurer at the time, and it was he did have a very high profile. That's when the GST was introduced, which was quite a significant change for the way we collect tax revenue in Australia. And so there was a lot of debate about that at the time. It was really fascinating to kind of get to experience that from inside the office and the changes and just the number of inquiries that came in about that and how the media handled that. And I guess, I certainly learnt a lot. I'm very, very grateful.
Yeah, and I know it's a bit of a controversial question, but who would you say was your favourite person to work for out of the three?
Oh no, that's like trying to choose a favourite child. I cannot. I refuse to answer that question. Now I sound like a politician avoiding how to answer a question. But I think the thing is that, I mean, with anyone, the benefit of sort of working with anyone, and I had a brilliant manager at the bank as well. You learn a lot from their experience and their insights, and I guess you take those learnings with you, and it kind of shapes the way you do things. And look, I still remember, Murray Thompson would say to me things like, with parliaments, these are parliament's resources, like even a stamp, good old stamps. We don't use them as often now, but it was like, this is all, parliament's resources and public funded things. So you need to look after even a stamp, and I just thought that integrity that he had, was really important, because in politics, I think there's a lot of people, question politicians now, and perhaps the reputations, or maybe not held in high regard sometimes. But I think there are really good people in politics, and I've been fortunate to work for 3 of them that are very hardworking, that approach their job, with the right intention. So I think that's all that you can, hope for. And it's not something that you can control. I guess you're in here because people have voted you in. So I know that I'm here for this term, and I hope that I will work hard and be deserving of, having people entrust that again. But you never know. So you just have to make the most of each day and keep doing the best you can. But I've certainly learnt so much from each of them, and I've had a lot of contact with them since as well, which I've really appreciated. It's an ongoing, connection, not always often, but they are people that I've been able to sort of touch base with and consider mentors to me, which is, I've really valued that over the years.
Yeah, and on the note of mentors and sort of aspirants, that relates to our next question actually. So, Gaelle, who would you say is your political role model or idol?
I think it's, again, probably hard to choose a specific person, but there's things that I've admired about different ones. And I guess in my maiden speech, I did refer to the 3 that I'd worked for and what I admired in each of them. And I know, many years ago, I guess Tim Fischer and John Anderson, 2 were very high profile for the Nationals, and I really admired, their integrity and how they conducted themselves in office. And I think the Nationals, for me, have just, they've been that reliable party. And I really enjoyed when we first entered Parliament. We had dinner with Nationals members that had been, ministers and part of it for a long time. And so you get to ask questions, and just, Peter Walsh has been in for 21 years now too. So, but there's other members,
crazy.
Like Jade Benham from Mildura, and Annabelle Cleland as well. She's in Euroa, and Kim O'Keefe in Shepparton. They're all new to this Parliament as well, and in the Northern Victoria region. So we've got that energy, and real mix of people that have got a lot of experience, and people that are bringing fresh ideas and energy to the party too. So no, I'm so grateful to be part of the Nationals, and I have never met such a hardworking and passionate group of people, because they really are focused on being locals in their community, and got elected because they're so involved and engaged in their local communities, and you see that passion come across in Parliament. So no, it's been wonderful to kind of learn from all of them, as far as mentors and people that you look up to. And I guess I am one to ask, and they will tell you that I'll ask a lot of questions to try and learn from different MPs as to how they do things and why they do things, and I try and bring those learnings into what I'm doing here with our team as well.
Yeah, and I think in general as well, the Nationals are a very, very community-based sort of political party. Many of their members, have, as you said, Annabelle Cleland and Jade Benham, they've got vastly huge electorates. All the other Nationals members in the White House. So I think it's a really, really good thing that the Nationals are so community-based. They're really trying to connect with regional Australians.
Yes, yeah, no, well, it's certainly, no, it is great. And I think, and just that being out there in the community and being part of it, and having, I see, Danny O'Brien, Melina Bath, they're not not in my area. Timball, there's got quite a few of them, but they work so hard, and they'll do a full week of Parliament and then still be out there on a Saturday morning at the supermarket, to listen to people and catch up on their news. So yes, I know it is certainly a big commitment, but it's a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah. And you got to take those opportunities because, as you said, you're only elected for one term. You never know; it could be your only term. So you got to make the opportunity as best as possible.
Very, very true.
So I think we've got 2 more questions left. Is that right, George?
Yeah, 2 more.
Yeah, 2 more questions. So we'll get on to our second last question for you, Gaelle, now. George.
What made you run in the 2022 state election for the National Party?
Oh, what made me run? Yeah, that's a very good question. What makes anyone take on this job? Well, funnily enough, I'd actually stood for exactly the same position for the Nationals for Northern Victoria back in 2016 when there was a vacancy in the upper house. And so I stood for pre-selection then, and I didn't get it. And so then I stood as a candidate for the Nationals in Bendigo East in 2018. So I got pre-selection, but then...
Was that against Jacinta Allen?
Correct. Against, yes, now Premier. So I'm always up for a challenge. And so yes, but no, didn't win that. We got a significant swing to the Nationals. I think it was like 17, nearly 17%, something like that. So so that was good, but not enough. And then because there'd been a swing, I guess, to Labor, I think back in the 2018 election, then it meant that upper house seat then became vacant. So the Nationals, didn't have anyone in the upper house for Northern Victoria at that time.
Wow.
And so then the pre-selection came up again, and then I thought, well, talk to a few people, and a few people were kind of asking me about it, and one of them said, if you don't give it a go, you may regret that you didn't give it a go. So I thought, okay, I'll give it one last go. Third time lucky. And yes,
third time's the charm.
Yes, that's right. But I think it just shows that sometimes, things certainly don't happen the first time. And in this job, I've found as well, I think you do need to have persist at things and have a commitment. And it's probably was a good thing that it was quite a long process to get in, because I really enjoyed my work outside of politics too, and the kids were a lot older as well, which was quite a benefit because you do spend so much time away from home. So I think sometimes you kind of look back on life and you think, oh, that happened for a reason, and that's certainly the way I look back and think, gee, I'm really grateful for the process. But it's not easy at the time when you kind of you get disappointment, but then you've just got to hop up and keep going and give all that you can to whatever you're doing at the time. So but yes, third time lucky, and now in the same position that I tried for back in 2016, which is funny.
Funny, and what actually made you join the Nationals? Because I know, as you've said previously, you did work for some Liberal staffers there. So what was the specific reason about joining the Nationals?
Yeah, well, I think when I moved to Bendigo, I've been here over 21 years, but so where I grew up on the east side of Melbourne, there was no National, there was just the Liberals there. And so, Liberals and Labor. So it was more sort of, when I moved, I guess, to Bendigo and this region that I thought, I learnt a lot more about the Nationals, and my husband's family were kind of very involved with the Nationals too. And so then I had the opportunity to work for Bridget McKenzie as well, which kind of taught me a lot. And I saw her passion for regional Victoria, and she continues to show that every day. She works incredibly hard. So I guess for me, I just thought, gee, I live in the regions. Here's a party that is very focused on local communities and getting opportunities for regional Victoria, not just for seeing resources continually poured into Melbourne, but recognising that a lot of our economy is driven in the regions, and it's really important for regional areas to have that infrastructure and opportunities and access to resources as well. So I felt very aligned to the values of the Nationals and being able to get involved. When I met other members, I just went, wow, they're really normal people, and they're just like me, more you people next door, and I thought, this is a great party with a really strong work ethic and a very long tradition and foundation, a very strong foundation behind it. So I think I remember saying in my speech at pre-selection, I kind of felt like the Nationals were like the Southern Cross. I guess it provides that direction and it's that consistency, whereas sometimes you see independents and they're a bit like shooting stars. They kind of
That's
they
true.
rise and
They're just
shine
all
and
over the place.
Yeah. So I felt that when you are part of a team and you get a real sense of knowledge of what's happening in different areas, then that's when you can really drive policies and drive the changes that you need to see as a team. Because I think I love sports and our family's always been very involved in sports. But when you look at great sports people, it's not the individuals that do wonderful things. It's because they've got a really strong team that they're part of. And I think, Ash Barty, you saw that, regularly she would just really give a lot of recognition to those that have sort of part of her team. She wasn't there by herself. And I think that's exactly the same in this role. And the Nationals are very much about that. You've got there's a number of teams that you're part of in this role, but when you work together, it's really important. And the Nationals have shown that, just that unity over a long period, but just it's driven by that commitment to the local region, and I see that in every member, and I admire it so much.
And we'll move on now to our final question for you, Gaelle. So, basically, what are some advice you'd give to students in 2024, especially those who have started university or high school?
Yeah, well, I've got certainly 2 kids in that bracket. I'm like, actually 3 kids now. Actually, I've got one in high school, one doing an apprenticeship, one off to uni. So yeah, I guess the thing that I'd say to all of you is just in life, you never know what's going to be ahead, and you're not meant to. I guess you just kind of focus on today. You just focus on doing the best you can do, and whatever task you're given, you just give it your best and do it with excellence, because all those skills and things that you pick up in jobs, no matter if it's picking fruit or flowers or whatever, which I've done over many years as well, I think you just learn from that and learn how to treat other people with respect and just stay committed and persist. And I guess that whole thing of never give up, I know it's a famous speech, and never give up, never give up, never give up, but I just think that too often people do probably give up and then don't necessarily get to do things that they might have dreamt of doing. So I guess for me, it was a very long journey from a parliamentary intern of 28 years ago to being elected as a member of parliament. It was something that sparked an interest, and then my husband sort of said, wow, it's actually happened, and I think it's been great for my kids to kind of see that it was an interest, and through commitment and hard work, you can just do your best, and opportunities come up. But like with anything, this will be a time, and then I'll be doing something else post politics, and I'm just excited about that. Because life is too short, and there's so many things that I do want to do.
You're already sick of the job, Gaelle?
No, not yet. But I think I've always had the attitude of I just want to contribute my best in whatever role I'm doing, and as long as I feel I'm making that contribution, I'm keen to, continue in it. But when I feel like I've done my bit and I can't, sort of, need to do something else, then I'm happy to sort of move to that next thing. But for now, I think there is plenty of work to do, and it is a real privilege to be able to talk to people and continue to advocate and you feel you are here to be a voice for people as well, that yeah, it's just so important because there is a real diversity of views out there, and that's what politics is all about. And what you need to do is get behind those people that reflect, similar values to you and similar policy objectives and outcomes. Get behind them and support them, because the seats that make up the parliament eventually determine the shape of our everyday lives. And that's why I was interested in state politics particularly, because I think it has a real direct impact on your everyday. It's your public transport, it's your healthcare, it's your education. These are things that, roads, the quality of our roads, these are all influenced by the state government and their decisions on what the priorities are and how your money is going to be spent. Federal and local look after different areas, but I think, I've always been a very practical person, probably got that from my grandparents. And I think, what impacts your daily life and how can you be at the table and be part of it? And I've been involved in many community groups over the years, and I think it's the same type of thing. You're there as part of the team, you're around the table, you have different points of view, but together you make a decision, and then that will influence an outcome and make a change. So, so I'd certainly say to all of you, just, keep doing what you're doing, follow what you're interested in, and never give up.
Yeah, that's a great set of advice there, Gaelle. Probably some of the best we've received on the whole podcast. So,
thank you. That's very nice. I know I've talked to a few, but anyway, hopefully that helps.
Yeah, and as you said before, that's every challenge and everything you face in life is life. So don't be too hard on yourself if you fail at something or you don't do as well as you would have in a test or something like that. So I guess, as you said, just keep pushing forward and keep working hard.
Yeah, no, that is so true. And I know people kind of said that, you'll fall over, but it doesn't matter how many times you fall over, it just matters that you keep getting up. So just keep getting up.
Yeah, exactly. So those are all our questions for you, Gaelle. I do really appreciate you coming on the podcast, and it's right before Easter, so it must be a busy time in the Broad household. So we do really appreciate you coming along and talking to us about these important issues and talking to us a little bit about your career before politics for our audience.
Oh, look, it's been fantastic. And I will say, if anyone wants to come to Bendigo for Easter, it is the best time. It's
really
like the best weather.
What's on there?
I tell you, we've got the Bendigo Easter Festival, and it's the Year of the Dragon. So it's kind of like a very big one this year and very, very exciting one. But there is lots of events and activities around the Bendigo region, and there are in other towns elsewhere too. Yep. So plenty to do, but love to see you in Bendigo, and feel free to drop by my office.
Yeah, I've been to Bendigo a couple of times. I've stayed around Castlemaine, that sort of area. So I do know the area pretty well. So anyone out there that does want to go to Bendigo, come drop by Gaelle's office, say hello, and she can take you around Bendigo, I guess.
Yeah, that'd be right. That'd be great. Thank you so much, and well done to you guys for putting this together. It's really, really good.